Hello, my little cupcakes. Welcome to your reading. I feel like the absurd nicknames are just food items at this point. Funny note is someone in my last video commented in all caps, "Is everyone okay here?" Because I called you guys chickens and you guys loved it. So I just thought it was funny from both sides reading that. The fact that you all loved it and the fact that someone walked in here without any context and was like, what is going on? How was the solar eclipse for all of you? I definitely felt a lot of your energy surging, both good and bad. So wherever you fell, just know that I was with you the entire time. It seems though the energy is coming back to baseline. So whatever extreme thing you were feeling during that time, it's leveling out here upcoming, depending on when you find this reading and this reading finds you. What's interesting is it looks like here in today's reading, I am splitting my collective into like a third, not even a half. And so this will be for a very, very small amount of you. It's narrowing in on what looks like to be a tired feeling, but it's more than that though. You've never exhausted yourself quite like you have to this point before. I almost feel like you're what looks like here accustomed to being tired. This is nothing new to you. This is a whole new level of exhaustion, and it's become what looks like your normal for however long this gap period has been for you. What I'm seeing here is like motto energy, meaning you're restructuring your reality with a new motto that you're living by of some kind. I kind of see and sense this group of people is dropping a role that they used to play. So you could have played a specific role in the past where you had to earn things by working really, really, really hard for them. That's what it looks like here is like, and this is very distinct energy. You had to try really hard to get good things, okay? Or at least you felt that way. And you usually got them from what I see here. The good things came to you after a lot of effort. But once you got it, you were like, okay, but what was the cost that I had to get this thing for? And so you're putting down this role. You're changing your motto. Your lifestyle motto is changing. That's very important. It looks like there's two reasons here as to why you're setting down this old role where you had to work hard for things. The first one is it was kind of forced on you because utter exhaustion collapsed you and you could not sustain that indefinitely. So you had to set this down. But the second reason is kind of less obvious. It seems you've reached a point of intolerance that you cannot go back to the old way of working really hard for things. It's almost as if you are intolerant to working hard or trying in the extreme way that you did in the past. Very specific today. So really, this threshold broke open for you, okay? You can't return back to this old role you had where you were trying really, really, really hard. And that could be in a multitude of ways, however it shows up to how you try hard, relationships, work, passions, friends, family. There's so many things into what you could be pouring yourself into. But where I really see today's reading getting super interesting and complex is that this trying energy is your transmutation energy. This trying energy is what you're evolving past. It was like the action of doing, affirming, of healing, of reacting, and you're shifting into a new archetype, which is very interesting. And I could see the crossover is creating a lot of doubt as you switch into this new archetype from transmutation to another one that I'll talk about once you continue this reading, is you're beginning to like question who you even are since you're in this bridge or gap space. You're like, what is going on? I've always transmuted. I've always acted. Now what? Why can I not act the same way? And so to be very, very specific, this message today is affirming who you are and going to walk you through why this moving away from transmutation is actually helpful and not hurting you like it may feel like right now. So if that sounds anything like what you're dealing with, if you have felt like you have been able to try really, really hard in the past, and then now you have a complete, like you have no tolerance at all for trying hard, you have no ability to go at the same speed and the same action, you might very well be in this bridge place between archetypes that Spirit wants me to explain to you in depth. So stick around because I think this reading is definitely for you if you are just feeling utterly exhausted to the point that you have never felt before. You know what's really funny? I get the sense for a lot of you, you have chronically underestimated what is happening while it's happening for you historically. It's like it almost takes a little bit of reflection for you to see the weight that you're holding. That's like a pattern I'm seeing with what's unfolded for you thus far. For example, you show me heavy alchemizing energy, heavy transmutation, heavy transformational energy, but you're stepping out of that. However, what's interesting is just as you're stepping out and embracing something new, is you're beginning to see clearly what you were doing, how much you were holding. But you couldn't see that while you were in the trenches of transforming others, yourself, your environments. You were deep, deep in this like powerful alchemy and you could not see it clearly until reflection. And I just think that it's funny how we underestimate what we're actually doing in the moment. So what's going on here? I see this being a message where spirit wants me to bridge what's happening for you, because in this next archetype that you are taking on, where you move past a alchemical or transmutational archetype, this one requires understanding. It requires what you're doing while you're doing it, so you don't underestimate it, because it's a lot quieter than transmutation. So this next archetype, where you're moving from, is, just to like summarize it really quickly, is transmutational energy is very action oriented, right? You move, you affirm, you do a lot of things outside of yourself, but this new energy is more restraint energy. So you're entering what looks like restraint, the archetype of restraint. It's very common during the shift between the two to think you're doing nothing or to think it has no purpose, because you're used to transmuting. You're used to being in the trenches, taking everybody's energy and moving it through you, literally as like this orifice that holds all the weight of the world. And so now that you're not holding anything and you're restraining, you're like, what is going on? And this bridge space is very uncommon. I'll talk about that a little bit more, because if you're feeling like just completely disoriented, there's a very clear reasoning here. So I guess to summarize this is, it feels much easier to look at transformational energy, to look at what you were doing and see that it's moving stuff at the very least. So you're moving forward, you're feeling okay about that. And so this next stage for you, while you embody restraint, this new archetype, you might not be able to see what you're doing clearly without some sort of like knowledge about it. And that's why I think spirit really wants to emphasize this today for you, is like, what does restraint even mean? What is the positive? Why am I being pushed into this new archetype? So the larger part of today's message is explaining to this very small group, why withdrawal and restraint is a part of your next chapter, and why it's creating so much discomfort as a result. And the only way I can really explain this to you is kind of like in a story narrative, like a transmutation story, so you can grasp what's been happening for you. Basically, what happens for the rare people I'm talking to today is you start off just transmuting without boundaries. Think of yourself as like this like powerful being that comes here without the ability to aim, that comes here without the ability to control what they have. So a large part of your beginning experience is like practicing aiming. Or I guess learning you don't need to transform every single deep energetic source that you come into contact with, because a large part of your learning revolves around knowing and discerning what type of energy you take in and what type of energy you transmute. And so why am I explaining all this energetic stuff to you? Because it's very important. You have recently graduated past the practice of aiming. You're fully in this control space where you're no longer just picking energy because it needs help. Okay. So something unconsciously that transmuters and very powerful ones like you do is you kind of just take those suffering and you help them. And your goal in this life is to practice aiming, like what deserves my help and what doesn't. It's no easy lesson to get to where you are. I need to really, really emphasize this, is like most transmuters continue to take energy and transform it their entire lives. They go on many lifetimes doing this, enduring the labor of transmutation. And they repeat that lesson over and over again. They take the good and the bad. You're taking in things, you're giving things, but it's very volatile. So the meaningful change here is that you've reached a threshold of transmutation. You have created so much alchemy that you're at a point where you no longer tolerate transmuting at your own expense, which is a very mature transmuter, if you can imagine that. I'm trying to create a narrative around this so you can understand from an energy standpoint. I can't stress this enough. This is a huge threshold you've reached. You're changing archetypes mid-flight, and that does not happen very commonly at all. And the reason it's so powerful is because you get to carry over a learned ability from transmutation that you've mastered, in other words, like alchemizing deep pain, suffering into power. And then you get to apply it to learning a new archetype entirely. So you'll have like this duality of ability. And I'll get into that. I know it sounds kind of abstract right now, but hear me out. The powerful part of this section is that you recognize that this type of duality, this type of ability to hold both that you're being given is very rare. People don't get really second archetypes. And if they do, it's very uncommon in lifetimes that you get that. So I'll explain in the next part what's coming up next from what I see here. It's so funny because when I start calling you nicknames, then I just think about cupcakes the entire reading. And then as I was thinking of cupcakes, this random song came through, which is not relevant to cupcakes at all. It's just like, this is where my brain is going. I do not see a connection to this song. So I'm going to put it in the description as I do with all things for you. Always check out my descriptions. Shout out to my descriptions. This song, I don't think has any relevancy. It's just going to be for a very small, specific niche group. It's definitely not going to be for everybody. So I'll leave that in there. I don't know what to do with it. It just kind of is here. Anyway, let's talk about this new archetype that you're shifting into, because I've been talking a lot about transmutation. I'm sure the people here understand that they're an alchemist to some regard, like you've been exposed to that concept. You understand you are. It's very clear when you are. You know you are. It's hard to hide from the fact that you're transmuting. So right now, you're in this shifting archetype process. We just talked about how rare that is. I can't stress that enough. I'm not just saying that to make you feel special. People don't embody this duality in lifetimes very often because it's hard. It's disorienting. So this bridge space you're in is feeling unbearable because you've mastered alchemical transmutation. You've mastered something and you're moving into the opposite here that you haven't fully embodied. You don't know why you're being pushed into this, but you are purposefully. So moving from this transformation archetype that moves consistently, that takes and regenerates things, to what seems like the opposite is learning to embody a lack of movement, a full-on restraint archetype. And the transmuter is transforming with action. It's doing, it's affirming, it's healing, it's reacting, it's thinking, it's responding. You are moving, constantly in motion. And now in this chapter, the archetype that you are embodying is the opposite. This energy I could probably define with a name. Something that comes to mind is probably like a neutralizer. I think Carl Jung references something like this in his work, like a threshold keeper. It's the opposite of what a transmuter would be. I'll type this more in the description because I don't want to, get too in the weeds of arbitrary titles and things like that, because things have interchangeable meanings, especially in pseudoscientific communities. So anyway, let's call it the neutralizer because it's one word and it's easier to say. The neutralizer archetype that you are now being pushed to embody is the opposite of the transmuter. It is operating with restraint, not action, not taking others' energy and pushing it out of you, okay? From an energy standpoint, you are going from action over functioning, like taking people's heavy energy and transforming it into power. You're now putting that down and picking up something with restraint, which means you just restrain yourself from doing. You're not picking up anyone's energy. You're just observing. Now, this isn't just to stop yourself from burning out. And I see at a surface level, a lot of you could be thinking, okay, I'm just burnt out from overfunctioning. So now I'm just not moving because I'm tired. No, this is much deeper than that. From an energy lens, what's happening here is there's more to this archetype than just restraint, like why you're being pushed into this role. The world needs this type of duality that you're about to embody in this next chapter. It has both transmutational energy and neutralizing energy, which is like very rare. I'll get more into that. I'll get more into the purpose of both of those. But for now, just know that the neutralizer is someone who defines boundaries in the physical in basically unspoken ways. So you're going from taking other people's energy, taking their pain and like making it power. And then you're moving into someone who is defining boundaries and restraining. A neutralizer cannot exist without mastery of transmutation, like you've already gone through. You've gone through the depths of hell. You've learned what the darks of people's energy is like and what it takes to like create something beautiful from that. So a neutralizer wouldn't exist without that ability. In order to neutralize or define thresholds, like what you're walking into, you need to know what the bottom feels like. You need to know the tower moments, the depths of pain. You have to know what that feels like, what it looks like in order to know who to allow to enter. So it's more than just protecting yourself and boundaries. This next role serves as like kind of a gatekeeper of who should be revealed and who shouldn't. Almost as if your function is to be this like role model to others, where you kind of set the pace of when to go deep and when to restrain, and then people kind of follow your lead. And Spirit's really emphasizing this to me, sorry if it's redundant, is it's incredibly uncommon that people can find this space between the two. The world needs a model in this way. It needs to see that both can be embodied, and you're definitely taking this very rare step to do that. And it doesn't exist very commonly, and I'll talk about what it does to other people and what it's going to do for you in the next upcoming chapter and why it's important. This absolutely has to be the most layered message I've ever given on this platform. And so at this point, I feel like all of you are thinking, all right, Salt, I hear how uncommon and crazy this is, but why does this even matter for me? Like, what are you telling me, that I'm going to change the world? Okay, hear me out. If I were to really summarize what I'm saying in one simple sentence, it is that you are in a bridge space because you are embodying two opposite archetypes purposefully to be this like thing for the world. And I'm going to continue with more sentences because that one sentence is not enough. And the reason you're doing this is to help people see something, okay? You've already explored long periods of transmutation. You've already done the hard work. This next period is not going to be difficult. It's not going to be labor. So it's important you understand that even if it feels unbearable or like disorienting, it's good because it's taking you out of chaos into something else. You already explored a long period of exploring depths and creating power from pain, and your psyche has integrated that lesson, which is not common. It learned fully the cost of converting everyone's energy for them. You learned the price of that. So now, as you enter this like restraining archetype, completely polar opposite to what you've been doing for most of your life, you are now regulating what is allowed to not only enter you, but also show others what they need to evolve through your own restraint. So you now have boundaries. You're not going to be in this like chaotic space. You're not going to be tired forever, but you're also showing something really important to others that others couldn't see without the duality that you have between these archetypes. I feel like this message is saying, because you can sense what destabilizes, you can respond in a unique way that others cannot, just purely from energy. It's like the restraint is not how restraint would look for other people, since you've been a transmuter. Your restraint is not avoidance. It is looking directly at the energy, recognizing it, seeing that it's like pain, suffering, depths. You're slowly, gently handing that energy back to the person, and they can feel that it's not avoidance. They can feel that you see the full energy and you're saying no. Maybe not on a conscious level, but they can sense that it's different with you because you're embodying both of these archetypes. So when you hand things back now as this like new archetype, this one of restraint, people feel that difference. It's subtle, but it's important. And it doesn't exist very often that people can see fully through someone and still have restraint and say no. So I think the other part of this message, this very layered one, is yes, you are learning that you don't need to take on all the deepest, darkest, saddest, painful depths of the world, and you're kind of putting yourself first. You're saying, I'm not going to destabilize myself for everybody else anymore. I literally have no tolerance for that. So here's what's important about this message. You're stepping into this duality that is very beneficial for you as a person, not just the world, although kind of they're both going hand in hand. You might notice a lot more restraint, almost like you're overcorrecting from so much transmutation for a lot of your life. This is because you're being pushed into testing your discernment upcoming as you move into this archetype, this restraint archetype of neutralization. Chaotic energy that needs your transmutation ability is going to be asked of you in this time, and you're being told to practice neutralizing, practice restraint. And that means handing it back to the person, seeing it fully for what it is, and saying, I see this, but I'm not going to take it on. And then that person is then forced to reckon with it, like acknowledge it as a result of that. This very subtle exchange, that's like the purpose of you embodying both of these archetypes. It's just like you're handing people's chaotic energy back and forcing them to see it because you fully recognize it. Even if there's no language to it, it's happening on an energy level, and then they're forced to see it as a result. There's another part of this message that seems to be focused on what happens during the restraint learning window for you. It seems some things might collapse for you in this time, this bridge space, as you continue to be pushed into this restraint archetype. This might lead to more discomfort as things collapse away. But what's happening here is false energies, false things that were promised to you are going to dissolve, because as you restrain, as you learn this restraining ability, what it does is it dissolves instability for you. By not moving, by not taking action, by not transmuting it, things collapse. They're not able to pretend to you anymore. And so that's the power of the restraint side that you're learning, is you have this uncanny ability moving forward, which combines the ability to transform things and also reveal them at the same time. And so, for example, once something does reveal itself to you through this like mastery of restraint you're learning, you get to fully see if it's stable before you decide to transmute it, before you decide to take it and alchemize it. Because you still have that gift. It's not like you just set it down and you never have it again. It's like you just get to learn this amazing balance in life that's unlike most, where you get to expand only the things that show you that they're real. And the reason that you focused on chaos or got stuck in things that kept overworking you is because you didn't learn the restraint piece yet that you're moving into. And it's going to unlock something so real for you, because it's going to reveal the things for you that deserve your transmutation, that deserve this like growing energy to be reciprocated. So really, this changes the upcoming timeline for you here. I hope you can see that. It's just two balancing things being able to work together in harmony. And like I mentioned before, very uncommon, and not a lot of people get this. All right, my little cupcakes that have stayed, I just want to tell you that you are the cupcake to my life. And I love you so much. I hope this reading today wasn't too layered. I'll be sure to leave lots of notes for you. It feels kind of surreal to me how dense this one was. So I'll be sure to leave notes. Just as a note for all of you, if you're new here, hello. What a great reading you started this channel with. Let me know your comments, your feedback. I am inclined to tell you, if you felt this was a very detailed read, it is no coincidence that I am an insanely detailed reader. In fact, it happens because my collective is beautiful here, and they send me a lot of energetic nudges. An energetic nudge is basically a comment, an email, some sort of communicational energy that you send to me where it's basically just you nudging me. I don't know how else to explain that. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? If you are nudging me a lot and you are not feeling like my readings resonate, that does not mean I don't feel your energy. I probably feel it very strongly. It's just not your time. Readings come in divine timing, not prioritization. So cheers, friends.